welcome to Business Stories. I'm your host, Jeremy Arnon. Today's special guest from Mixtroz, CEO and co-founder, Kerry Schrader.
Hey, how are you today?
Kerry, so great to have you on the show. Thanks so much for joining.
I'm so glad to be here for many reasons.
Well, welcome to Business Stories, the entrepreneur edition. It's so great to have Kerry on the show. Kerry and I met randomly 6 years ago when she was just starting the business. And I remember it like it was yesterday because she literally would not tell me anything about what she was working on. But she was the most confident entrepreneur I've ever met. Kerry, do you remember when we met?
Oh, I remember again, like it was yesterday. It was January the 5th of 2015 at CES. And it's funny as a brand new, and I'm talking about very wet behind the ears, brand spanking new, probably did not even spell entrepreneur correctly, is when I met you at that conference at App Nation. And I had not a clue really what I was doing or why I was there. And so that was back in the days of I'm not telling anybody about this big thing because they will try to steal it. And so I can remember anybody, my favorite people, before I would talk to them, they had to sign an NDA. And I just remember you in my mind was just like, look at this guy. He is tech savvy. He's doing his thing in tech. You had a couple of your friends with you. And I was like, oh, this dude is the last dude I'm going to tell because he's going to make Mixtroz up like tomorrow. Little
The,
did I
the,
know it's
the funny
true.
thing is I had no interest in
Yeah, right. I was gonna
starting
say
something.
little did I know that it's really true what people tell you. Nobody wants your baby because unless it's your baby, you're not willing to put in all the work. But under those days, I thought somebody gonna try to kidnap my baby.
For
So
a little background, Kerry is the CEO of Mixtroz, which is a combination of mixers and introductions. It took me a little while to figure that out. Intros, Mixtroz, and she started the company with her daughter, which is very unique. And both of them had very successful careers. Kerry was working in HR in the corporate world for companies like Sears and Ford and Alcoa. And her daughter was running events in New York City with major celebrities. I mean, Oprah, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jay-Z. Uh, and then you guys jumped right in. So tell us, and remember, this is Business Stories. There's no BS
yeah.
here.
Oh,
What were the feelings when you decided to become an entrepreneur?
like we didn't decide to become entrepreneurs. We both were in very great careers. I mean, for me, not being a non-millennial, my parents raised me to go to college and to work hard until you die and just keep climbing that corporate ladder. And of course, I was doing that same kind of parenting with my daughter. And it wasn't until we had a crazy conversation late in 2014, actually on November the 9th of 2014, about a weekend of clumsy networking, her
Kerry
in New
is
York.
Kerry is very good with dates.
Yeah, I'm very good with dates. Her in New York, me in a city right outside of Nashville, Tennessee, with my age range. And when we look for a solution, we were having our mother daughter talk. And when we look for the solution in the school, we like to say the school of Google, there was not an approach that put the human element first and the tech second. And from that day is what we made Mixtros up to be. And I never thought that hey, we would plunge into this thing called entrepreneurship, deal with all the hurdles. And when I say plunge, I mean no jobs, uh, really going at it full tilt. And just spoiler alert, because people will assume the people that know that I'm married is like, well, no problem. You worked on this and your husband held you all down. My husband had retired early as we had been moving around the country with my HR career. So when I say that we were all in, we were all in.
Now, working with your daughter is pretty unique. What has that been like? Because I know a lot of people who dream about even going on a vacation with their mothers or their daughters, and that lasts about a weekend.
No, you know what? I have to say, and again, I always knew Ashley had a great work ethic and standard from what the things she did in college and even the accolades she had gotten on in her last role in New York. But never imagined that we would work together. So this is really being around your adult child as a grown up, and I'm not necessarily calling the shots like it's time to go to bed or we're going to do this. I mean, I respect her fully for her expertise. And if she was on this podcast, she would tell you she fully respects me for my expertise, and we have that honesty. I mean, the great news is, heck, we've been in some accelerators where we had to stay on a college campus, which was awesome. We shared an apartment in a double bed. I thought I was renting a queen size bed, and it was a double. And she was like, "Do you know what it's like to roll over at age 29 and see your mom first thing?" I was like, "Good morning, good morning," and would not
I have a
tilt each
feeling you're
other.
enjoying. I have a feeling you're enjoying it more than she is.
Well, I
So you
will.
mentioned earlier that you had all these contacts, connections, and you thought like I'll just call my contacts and everyone will help me. And then you realize that even though they want to help you, people are busy. What was that experience like? Eye opening, I assume.
Very eye-opening. And not long ago, I had wrote a little something on LinkedIn that pretty much said, if you're a friend of an entrepreneur, do they consider you friend or foe? But I also believe when you have relationships that on TV at least, it shows that those relationships pay off, and oh my God, they got in a special circle. And so that, that helped them. I will tell you, it didn't help me. And I mean, I also, let's talk about the elephant in the room, not me, although my weight's up a little bit. Um, the whole me and my I call it my earth suit, being a black female non-millennial, that's another hurdle for somebody to go to their boss and say, hey, let's give this a try. And then when you keep peeling back the onion, I mean, the truth is the truth. The risk even gets less
Mhm.
when you're not in the norm. Hopefully that's changing.
So we all know about the statistics of female-funded entrepreneurs, Black-funded entrepreneurs, and the fact that uh, there's a lot less funding that goes to uh, you know those groups in particular. What has your experience been like? Trying to raise money over the last 5 years.
Oh, I mean, the fact that it's been 5 years. I mean, and we're like the lucky ones. We are, we even say we're privileged compared to some of our Black female founder friends. So we went the first 6 months on bootstrapping. I always tease my daughter, I bootstrap, she like sandal strapped. And then when we raised that next set of funding in the summer of 15, that $200,000 lasted until December of 2017.
Wow. Wow.
$200,000.
Now, I know you have a very inspiring story. You faced some real personal adversity when you started the business, and around almost exactly around the time you started the business. Tell us a little bit about that, and kind of just I'm really interested to understand sort of what made you push through. Did you ever think about quitting? Maybe you can kind of walk the audience through what happened there.
No, Jeremy, I actually appreciate you asking about that, because a lots of time when I speak, I make sure to mention it, because at the end of the day, you can't be an entrepreneur, a corporate person, a stay-at-home person if you're not actually on the earth. And so it's pretty important that people take care of their health regardless of what their background is. So we had just literally just closed the friends and family round, and it was October of 2015, and I went for a normal mammogram. I'm slightly over 40, just a little bit. And so
You don't
these,
look it. You don't look
thank you so much. These things women schedule out over 40 a year in advance. And I had scheduled it out. The date came up. Ashley and I were supposed to meet in Denver for a conference, like in a day or two. So given plus or minus a day, I wouldn't have even went, because nothing was wrong with me. I was in great shape, and boom, find out that I have breast cancer. And thank goodness they caught it. And thank God they caught it in an early stage. I had to end up having some surgery, and then do 6 weeks of radiation. And I say all the time, if you get on our website, anything that you hear a quote, especially if it's a true quote, is I really look to the reason I got through it is because of my faith, my family, my friends, and focus on Mixtroz. I felt like my money and stuff was already tied up. Now I've taken money from my friends and family, you have to keep it going. And even literally, they were pushing me in surgery, and I was telling the surgeon, hey, when I wake up, I want to tell you about this thing that can make your conferences. And he's like, put her to sleep. Better. And so just that. And I mean, took a couple weeks off, was still taking calls, really didn't tell anybody. It wasn't anything like to tell. And then I got right back on it. And when I started my radiation, Ashley still lived in New York, and she would get so mad. She'd call like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm on my way to tanning. And then I have like these 8 appointments to do. And she's like, it's not funny. Don't call it tanning. But I did. And I mean, I went to some big meetings, even meetings that I had to drive like an hour or two to get to, and just kept it going. So nope, that's behind me and doing well. But I tell everybody, women, men, whatever, like, do not skimp on these yearly, monthly, whatever your thing is, because if you catch it, you're good. And if you don't, you can't pursue your dreams.
You know, entrepreneurship, in the press looks so glorified, but the reality day to day is you're really grinding away. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, literally grinding away. I actually start grinding so much that I cracked a crown. I also enjoy chewing the inside of my cheek at night, which I woke up one day and there was like this white thing in there. And I went to the doctor because I was sure that I had like cancer of the cheek. And he was like, no, you're biting your cheek at night and you're grinding. Awesome. And, even with my daughter, who was 28, 27, 28 when we started Mixtroz, living in New York with the red bottom shoes and going to all these glorious things. And then she came over full time in June of 26. And she said, Mom, when I saw you go through your treatment, it was kind of like either I need to get on or I need to get off. So she quit her job, moved home, and stayed in her brother's well appointed room, but stayed in her brother's room and drove his car because he was in the army. And, she got very depressed, and she talks about it like freely because it was depressing. She said that's the summer that it seemed like all of her friends went to Greece, were buying houses, having kids, and she's at home with her parents that she didn't live with us since she graduated high school. She started her college career and just kept it moving. Um, so that is real. But the thing is, she recognized she had an issue, and it was like she was sleeping. The more she slept, she wanted to sleep more, and then went to the doctor and had taken care of it. And her and I both, we have psychologists or people counselors that we talk to weekly, and it's just I think it helps balance us as entrepreneurs. And
Yeah, no, I appreciate the honesty and the candor, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs watching will as well. I think having a coach or someone to talk to, like you mentioned, a therapist, or is important, and it's one of those things that I don't think entrepreneurs really talk about enough. And I think I thank you for bringing it up on here. So, well, you've made it to the speed round. I don't know if you've watched any of the other episodes, but I'm going to ask you a couple. I'm going to kind of give you a word or two, and I just want your first thought. So the Super Bowl is coming up. We're less than 2 weeks away. I don't know if you're a fan or not, but Tampa Bay or Kansas City?
Kansas City. I'm actually a Cleveland Browns girl, so my heart is broken, but I'm gonna go with Mahomes.
I'm a Jets fan, so I'm
We'll all be
always
watching.
heartbroken.
Yeah.
In-person events or virtual? Which do you prefer?
Hmm. I'm gonna say, damn, that's a hard one. I'm gonna say virtual, mostly because I can keep my pajamas on, uh, get dressed from the top up, and still with the product like mine, still being able to interact, face to face with people.
Last one, binge watching suggestion. What are you watching on Prime or Netflix?
You ready? Are you gonna crack up? Pimple
I'm ready.
popper. That's my
Oh,
girl. That's
I,
it.
I've seen that and I'm disgusted by it. People are either love it or they're disgusted by it. I'm on the,
I
I
love
can't
her.
even watch.
Yeah, I love her.
Well, great. Kerry, thank you so much for joining. I hope your story was inspiring to people watching as much as it is to me. The grind and the grit that you guys have shown for the last 5 years is inspiring. I'm excited to watch where you take it to. I know you're not finished on the journey. Thanks everyone, and we have more business stories coming for you in the future.